they can easily have a look at this. Yeah, so I'm starting. I hope you can hear me clear, and I hope you can see my screen as well. Yeah, just a thumbs up or a text can also be fine. So I'll I'll give you the deadlines for this assignment, but generally it's just 2 weeks that you have to submit your assignment. So you can see this PDF, this document that I've opened up. This is just as a reminder of what we have gone through. I'm not going through all the presentations because that takes a lot of time. I used to do that when we had smaller unit sizes, but this one spanned a little more longer. So this is an overview of what we've done so far in the unit. I hope you can see my screen. So this unit was there to develop your understanding of different areas that were there for growth and development, and how each development area has an impact on the other. So we talked about different aspects of the brain, of the body, and them having an impact on each other. This unit introduced you guys to the various stages of growth and development, and that is where a human being passes through on their journey through life. That's the unit. Some specifications of this. It was either this assignment that you submit. It's either a pass, merit, or a distinction. Now, guidance to this is that in order to achieve this unit, you must produce the work that demonstrates achievement of the learning outcomes. Okay, so we have discussed these in detail. So what you need to do is we'll just go through these learning outcomes as a revision. So the learning outcome for the first session was to know the stages of growth and development throughout the human lifespan. So here, I'll discuss these in detail. We'll just go through the learning outcomes for now because I've got all of this in a presentation. The second learning outcome was to understand the potential effects of life factors and events on the growth and development. The third learning outcome was to understand the physical and psychological changes of aging. And the fourth learning outcome was to understand the impact or the effect of transitions and significant life events. Okay, so these were all what we had gone through. These are some of the indicative contents. This all has been shared with you on Moodle already. I'm closing this now and I'll stop sharing this. I'll start sharing my screen. Okay, so this is, I hope you can see my screen again. So any questions that you have, please feel free to ask in between, because it becomes hard when you want to ask a question, and if you're attending a live session, it makes it easier for you. So this is the assignment discussion that we're going through. So it is important. So I'll just give you some tips of the assignment, how to do it, and few bits and bobs. So it's important that health and social care practitioners like yourselves, you develop your knowledge in relation to supporting people at every stage of their lives. And you need to know how growth and development relate to health and well-being. So in this assignment, what do we see? How do we assess you? We assess you for your critical thinking. We assess you for planning, organizing, and time management. We want to see how do you gather information, note-taking, and summarizing. We see your analysis skills and your written skills, your academic skills, including your referencing, which will be Harvard referencing, and the application of your IT skills. Okay. So a bit about how do you have to write? How do you have to write? What is the right format to write in? So you open up a Word document, okay? And this is a bit about how do you document, how is your structure on your format going to happen. It's a good practice to put in the unit number and the unit name, okay? So there's a standard format that has been given to you. So make sure you put your unit number, your unit name. your student name, your student ID. Whenever you start any unit, start a little bit of introduction of the unit, even um, if it's not asked from you at times, but if you put it there, the teacher or the marking tutor will, or the assessor will have it's a good impression on them, and then they know that yes, you've gathered something out of the unit. Okay, so this should be around 30 to 50 words, the introduction. Write out the learning outcome if you are mentioning it. Okay, so the learning outcomes we've already talked about, the 4 learning outcomes. If you're mentioning it in your particular task, so there are different tasks that I'll be mentioning what you have to do in your, in your assignment. So if you're referring to that learning outcome, that you had studied this from that learning outcome, or you've gone through that learning outcome and this is what you've got through it, it is fine, but it is not completely required. It's up to you. Your font size should be 12. Line spacing should be 1.5. You should insert page numbers. Now, wherever it's not mentioned, the page numbers mostly go towards the right at the bottom. Okay, that's mostly the standard. If there's something that's not mentioned, you can do whatever you want to, but page numbers generally they go right at the right bottom. Table of contents at the beginning, you should be able to write the table of contents. So number 1 is the introduction, for instance. The number 2 is this the first task. Which page number would you find it on? So that is the table of contents that you have to have on the page right after where you mention the unit and the unit number. You should give a conclusion. Always give a conclusion of 20 to 30 words. What have you learned? So the beginning and the end is very important. And then your referencing or your bibliography. So read the task carefully. This is a useful tip. Focus on the details. Focus on what has been asked from you. So as a guidance, you would want to know what are the action or command verbs. So there's some verbs or words that say explain or define or describe. You should be able to write them in 70 to 100 words. This is a rough estimate, okay? Then if there's written to assess, to examine, to clarify, to analyze, if that task says to do this, just as like analyze the life factors that impact on the health system, let's say, that should require 100 to 200 100 to 125 words roughly. Anything above and below is okay, but roughly it is that. Compare, contrast, and critically evaluate or critically write about something or evaluate something that requires more words. So that's 150 to 200 word long. Okay, so Harvard referencing is used. So references need to be Harvard. That is when you have the author and the date style. Okay, for instance, there's a reference you would give in text. So you've got it when you're writing a document and you have written a paragraph at the end of it. At the end of that paragraph, if you want to write that this is from where it came, so you will have to write it, mention it like this. So this in the text, in that document, when you're writing, this is not the list at the end, not the references list at the end. This is within that document. You write a sentence, for instance, and you want to document who wrote this sentence. So it's this way you do it. So the names, the author's names, and then at the end is the date. So in the reference towards the end, it will come as shown. We'll later on show you. And you've been given examples of Harvard referencing as well. Word limit the recommended word limit is 3,000 words. Okay, so pay attention to how, like some people say, how much words should I write for learning outcome 1? So it is what has been asked from you. If they said explain, 70 to 100. If they've asked compare, 150 to 200. So that's a rough guide. So the assessment. So you need to produce evidence for the assessment, okay? So evidence required to be produced to complete the assignment. So task 1 is a presentation, 15 to 17 slides. Okay, what are speaker notes? So at the end, if I just stop sharing this, if you can see this, at the end here, where my cursor is, I have speaker notes here. So whatever I want to write in excess, so if I want to write a lot of stuff on every slide, so that excess can be written over here. Okay, so you should make use of these speaker notes, because you don't want to write everything on your slide and make it too crowded. That doesn't look very neat. So we will have a look when the assessor has a look. They'll not only see this, they'll see the speaker notes as well. Task number 2 is a Word document that you need to produce. It's a report of 1500 words. And task number 3 is another document of 1500 words. So in total, there are 3 tasks for this assessment. So task number 1, that covers learning outcome 1, in which you have 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and 1 M1. So what does the task say? As a newly recruited health and social worker, you have been asked to create a portfolio that contains information on human growth and development across the stages. You need to create material for a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, and which you will present to your colleagues in a staff training session. Produce a presentation that details human growth and development across the life stages. What should you do in it? Now, analyze think about these words. These words, describe. Think about how much do you want to write on this. So describe physical, intellectual, emotional, and social development for each of the life stages of an individual. The second is identify. Identify key changes from birth to old age affecting health and well-being. Then it is explain. Again, what is the command verb? Explain the developmental norms and milestones. Fourth is to identify life factors and events which affect growth and development. Fifth is to explain potential effects of life factors and events on growth and development of individuals. So as you can see, you need to produce a PowerPoint presentation with these points. These 5 points need to be covered within them. Okay? And whatever you want to write in excess, so it should be around 15 to 17 slide long. It can be longer than that, but I would ask you to write it in speaker notes if you want to write more longer. So let's say within the presentation slides, you can talk about the stages of human growth across human growth development across the 4 broad stages. Discuss PSIE. So these were the factors that I had shared with you. Psychological, social, intellectual, and emotional factors affecting growth and development. These are pointers that you can use within your presentation. Use a graph or picture to explain the developmental milestones. These are all the milestones that you have. You can make use of the presentation slides that we've shared with you also. Not totally, but some of the bits can be used from here also. Talk about the impacts and the effects and events that influence growth and development of individuals. These are some points of the slides. Now, when you want to work on a document or on an assignment, and sometimes we want a merit, sometimes we want a distinction, or sometimes you just want to pass, what do you do in those instances? You need to write that down. When you're sending us your assignment, you need to mention that this is what you're aiming for and you have worked towards it. We will not only go by about what you've said. Probably you've not written anything, what grade you want, but if we see that the grade is really should be really high, we will be giving you a high grade if it is justified. However, if you write that down, we will focus more on, okay, this is what you want. And if you're not achieving those grades, we might send that document back to you and ask you to turn it better. If you want a distinction, for instance, you would want to write more about a particular thing that you've probably not written enough and you're not getting that distinction grade. I hope that makes sense. Now, if you want to gain a merit, you would also want to analyze, again, analyze how many words, just make sure of you doing that. Analyze how each developmental area has an impact on the other. Here you need to pick up with the four stages, with the four stages of growth. Okay, so what I meant was that if you want a merit, let's say I want a merit, if I'm writing a document or an assignment and I want a merit, or where I'm a job that I need, they've asked me for a distinction on that. Um, what do I do? How do I go about with that? I would then try and write the document to the best of my understanding. I'll write it the way a distinction assignment should be written. But then I will always, when I'm submitting my assessment for to the assessor, I would write that, please, I have worked very hard on it and I want a distinction merit, or a distinction or a merit, or if you want to pass only, that's okay. But your hard work should be there. It should be reflecting that. We won't only go by your words. So if you're lacking in that, for instance, if you want a distinction, you've mentioned that, and your work isn't of that quality, we might return it to you and we might ask you that if you're happy to go with this, we are happy to give a merit grade, but your work is not of distinction quality, so would you want to revise your work for that? I hope that's clear. So analyze how each development area has an impact on the other, and if you do not meet with our target, can assignment again. Yes, you would get that feedback. Analyze how each development area has an impact on the other. And here you need to pick up with the four stages of growth and development and talk about the developments and the impact of the development on the next phase. This is for if you want to merit. In order to gain a distinction, you should also evaluate how nature and nurture affects individuals' physical, intellectual, emotional, and social development. Here you need to talk about the four factors that we had talked about, um, that was shared over here with you. So you can have a look at this. We've shared this with you. So these are the stages of life. These are the basic conflicts that we have, the important events that we have, the key questions to be answered, and the outcomes. So have a look at Erickson's psychosocial stages of, this is a summary chart. So you would want to write. So whenever you are using someone else's work, so this is some psychological stages that have been shown by Erickson. So you are not the author of this, so you need to mention this author, okay? So, and the year, this will all be coming from Google, so you can Google it up, and then you can write the reference for this as well. Whatever work is not yours, whatever is not are not your words, you need to reference those words. Task number 2 is, this is a report, okay? People worldwide are living longer. Living longer gives us the opportunity to pursue new activities, for instance, further education, a new career, or pursuing a new sport or hobby. Older people also contribute in many ways to their families and communities, but aging is, of course, accompanied by challenges, changes, both physical and psychological. Sorry. You have been employed to work as with a team of healthcare managers. The managers need to know how the service they provide meets the needs of the local community. You are required to prepare a training resource for trainers or practitioners, okay? So in this Word, you'll have, this will be a Word document, okay? 1500 word count is the maximum that we would require. You should be able to explain the physical and psychosocial changes linked to aging. This will be found in Learning Outcome 3.1, and explain the lifestyle choices associated with aging. Okay, so these are the two um, LOs, that learning outcomes, that you would want to focus on, and mention these 2 points, like elaborate on these 2 points. So when you're explaining physical and psychological changes aging, linked to aging, this is the one that I'm talking about, the first one. What do you need to write in it? So you need to talk about the physiological changes which occur with organ systems. The cardiac output decreases, blood pressure increases, arteriosclerosis develops. So you can talk about these things. What happens to your heart? What happens to your lungs? These are just examples. Okay. However this happens, you would want to reference everything that you're writing. Explain the lifestyle choices associated with aging. So you can write this also here. You need to, so this is the second point that I'm focusing on. Here you need to talk about the notable exogenous factors, the external factors that influence the degree of aging. You have sun exposure, you have smoking, you have other lifestyle choices such as lack of physical activity. You can talk about alcohol consumption, stress, diet, um, disease, medication, etc. What are those things that have your lifestyle choices which have an impact on your aging? So that's the 1500 word count document. Again, to gain a merit, you have ways. You would want to discuss the impact that physical changes have associated with aging, and those that you have on self-esteem and self-confidence. Here you need to talk about retirement, downgrades, or socioeconomic status, health challenges limit our abilities and our freedom. Talk about the relationship of physical appearance and self-esteem, which are often closely linked. You can talk about common conditions in older ages, including hearing loss, cataract, refractive errors, back and neck pain. You can talk about any of these. You don't need to talk about all of these, but a bit about all of any of these is okay. Just a minute. Sorry. Yeah. So here, you can obviously, when you want a distinction that will go a bit more um, within the analysis. So here you want to, if you want a distinction, it's to evaluate the influence lifestyle choices have on aging. Here you need to talk about the socioeconomic status, the level of education, family, your kinship, your social networks, gender, age, and interpersonal influences all impacting the choice of lifestyle. Build arguments to discuss that the lifestyle choices that we have make have an impact on our aging. Rowe and Cahan stated that successful aging involves three main factors. You can mention this also in your document. Now, this is going beyond just this writing, okay? You're talking about other people, other researchers that have worked in the field and have mentioned about it. So like you can write about being free of disability or disease. Number two is having high cognitive and physical abilities or interacting with others in meaningful ways. You can give this as example. These are just examples, okay? But if you have these types of examples, you can gain a distinction on this. So sometimes if you don't write that, we'll still obviously assess you. So if there's a distinction that you really want on your document, it makes sense then. Otherwise, even if, as I mentioned, if you don't mention that, we will still be checking your work according to its quality. Task number 3, the last task. Moving between the different stages of life, like you have school, you have college, you have work. It is especially hard if a person finds change difficult to cope with. To make transitions easier, it is important to put plans in place and have appropriate support mechanisms available. So you're required to identify a person. This could be from your own experience or from the media, television, or film who experiences transition and change. You can give an example of anyone. Using this person as a case study, prepare a report, again a Word document, in which you would identify, number one, identify transitions and significant life events across the life stages. This is focusing on learning outcome 4. You would want to describe the impact that transitions and significant life events have on this individual. on this particular individual that you have focused on. And then you would want to explain the role of health and social care practitioner in supporting the individual during transition and significant life events. Okay, these are the 3 points that you would want to focus on. Now, coming towards dissecting these points. So the first point was identify transitions and significant life events across life stages. Here you need to talk about what are life stage transitions. Okay, so stage transitions may include things like moving schools, having a new job, leaving a home, changing a country, adjusting to chronic illness. They have serious impacts on general health and well-being. Describe the impact that these transitions and significant life events may have on this individual. What are significant life events? So these are all examples. So death of a family, your marriage, your relationship issues, a newborn baby, for instance, these are all life events. Injury, illness, a new job, these are all examples of it. Second point was to explain the role of health and social care practitioner in supporting the individual during transition and significant life events. So a health and social care practitioner is there to develop health support from initial care to rehabilitation. Through building a close relationship, when you have a close relationship with medical practitioners, they are able to support patients and their families to ensure their overall or holistic care and needs are met. So you can give examples of the impact of the life event. Life event seems negative impact such as depression, grief, and stress. So after suffering from the problem of bereavement, for instance, the individual faces changes in his physical body and finds problems in doing work for long running hours. You have the opportunity to gain a distinction here where you would want to analyze the impact of person-centered approaches. We've talked about person-centered approaches in detail. And how it has an impact on the experience of the transition and significant life events. So you would want to talk about people's values and putting people at the center of care, taking into account people's preferences and chosen needs, ensuring people are physically comfortable and safe. So refer to the books that have been shared with you online. If you're using slides, then referencing will be like this. Okay, so this is how you will be using your referencing, your bibliography that you will be using. For instance, if you're writing person-centered approach, learning outcome 2, slide number 2 to 10. This is how you will give at the end of the presentation when you want to write the references. Submission is to be done on this email ID. So it's learnerwork@ukversity.co.uk. Please ignore this. So this has to be submitted here, and this is the submission and declaration of originality. I'll go through this as well. Does anyone have any questions so far? If there are no questions, I'll quickly go through. Yeah.
Please,
yes.
What should be the word count for all the assignments?
What should be the word count? So the total is excluding the PowerPoint presentation. It's a 3,000 word count. So 1,500 word count for the second task and 1,500 for the third task. So the PowerPoint presentation is not included. So 15 to 17 slides, that's fine for your PowerPoint presentation.
So the PowerPoint is for the second assignment task, the task 2.
The first task.
First.
Yes.
Task 1.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. The first is the PowerPoint presentation. I'll share it again with you. I need to show you this declaration. So there's a declaration that we have, and It's not very visible here. Just give me a minute. I'll try to make it bigger. So you have this declaration at the end, which you would want to form. This is a declaration of originality. So this is to show that whatever you have submitted, it's your own work. So the form must be completed and signed and submitted with all assignments. Please complete the information, use block letters, okay? So this is where you need to write your name, your student number, your course name, assignment name or number, and cross on all of these. And then at the end is your signature. I'll share it once again with you. I will need your attendance. I'll need to mark your attendance before you leave.
Sorry, please, I want to ask the question, please.
Yeah, I'm going
You
there.
said the submission is in 2 weeks, and please, can we have a specific date so that we can know when to start submitting or when
Yeah, I'm coming to that.
to know when we have left?
Mm-hmm. So
And
just
I
have,
want to ask
yeah,
one more question.
yeah.
In a situation whereby a student have a mindset of having, let's say, a distinction, and
Mm-hmm.
his or her homework is merit. So is there a room for correction, or if you submit, that is it?
Yes. Yes, you do. And if you have any queries, any further queries
Mm,
regarding any point, please
mm,
email on learnerwork@ukversity.co.uk, which has been shared with you, that email. If you're struggling anywhere, if you want, if you think you can't do it because you have other assessments as well, yeah, just ask for help. Just let us know if you need help or support. So these are the 3 tasks that we were mentioning. So task number 1 is presentation with speaker notes. Task number 2 is 1500 words. Task number 3 is 1500 words as well. Okay?
Okay, so the task number 1 is the PowerPoint.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
That's okay. I thought I can't be missing on that. I've just mentioned all of it. I can't go wrong on this.
Because I did not join in early,
Yeah, that's fine.
I was
That is
late. Thank
that
you.
No problem. I'll just ask you for a minute to stay here because I just need to mention your attendance and share it across. I'll stop the recording